So I think we will get started. So good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar. My name is James Thomas. I'm the founder and managing director of Digital Education Partnerships Indonesia, short for DEPI. While we're based here in Indonesia, we do partner with international edtech companies and schools across the entire Asia Pacific to help them explore practical solutions to enhance operations, improve teaching and learning, and ultimately strengthen student outcomes. So today's session is part of a webinar series that we've recently launched in the last couple of months, which are short practical sessions designed to introduce innovative education platforms tailored to the needs of international schools. So today we're going to be having a look at SolverEDGE, which is a machine learning driven platform developed with research backed by the University of Melbourne. Backed by this research and pilot programs across Asia Pacific, SolverEDGE equips students predominantly focusing on grades 3 to 9 with the essential skills that AI cannot replace. So in today's 45-minute session, we'll be looking at why traditional education often falls short in preparing students for an AI-driven world, drawing on some OECD/PISA insights. We'll also be exploring the science of thinking skills and the 6 human-centric competencies that AI can't replicate. So these are perseverance, reasoning, inferential reading, general knowledge, speed and accuracy, and method and strategy. And we'll also touch on how computerized adaptive testing, CAT, diagnoses student strengths and creates personalized learning pathways. So today we'll look at SolverEDGE, how it empowers teachers with dashboards, reports, and targeted intervention tools, how it achieves measurable growth with pilots that they've conducted showing up to 25% improvement in problem solving within students in just a term, how it strengthens student resilience and engagement whilst reducing performance gaps. So I'm delighted to be able to introduce our guest speaker today, Anson Mak. Anson serves as the Chief Financial Officer for SolverEDGE and is also the Managing Director of North Shore College Coaching. So North Shore Colleges are a leading academic tuition service provider in Australia and Hong Kong, with over 65 colleges focusing on helping students K-12 improve their academic levels to reach their full potential. So Anson is going to walk us through the platform's research-based methodology and share some practical insights and case studies demonstrating measurable student growth. So just a quick bit of housekeeping before we dive in today. Please keep your microphones muted unless you've been invited to speak. You are welcome to post any questions in the chat during the session, and we'll try to address those as soon as we can whilst Anson is presenting. However, we will dedicate 5 to 10 minutes for Q&A at the end, where Anson will try to address as many of your questions as possible. So this session is being recorded, and we will share the recording and slides with you after today's session. So without further ado, it's fantastic to see so many school leaders and educators here. We have schools represented from South Korea, Thailand, Myanmar, Singapore, the Philippines, Malaysia. So welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today. And I'll hand over to you, Anson. Over to you, Anson.
Thank you, James. Yeah, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Yeah, thanks for that wonderful introduction, James, and sorry for that brief moment of technical difficulty. So good afternoon, everyone, and I hear from James that there's a large group of educational leaders like yourself joining me from across Asia Pacific. So as James was saying, my name is Anson Mak and I'm the Chief Financial Officer at SolverEDGE. I'm standing in for my colleague, Jeffrey Ho, who's our Chief Operating Officer, who was originally assigned to be presenting this seminar, but he's unfortunately unable to join us due to other appointments with other international schools. I'm also joined by Leon Ho, who is the Chief Executive Officer of SolverEDGE. I also wear the hat of as Managing Director at North Shore Coaching College, which, as James mentioned, is an Australian-based coaching college, which was established in 1991 and teaches thousands of students every year from 3 to 18 years old. I'm personally also involved in the STEM business and early learning business. So in the next 30 to 40 minutes or so, I'll be talking about the topic of today's presentation, which is future-proofing students, AI, thinking skills, and adaptive learning. So since I am based in Australia, I would like to start off by paying my respects to the traditional custodians of the land, elders past, present, and emerging. Now, as you can imagine, the topic we've come up with, it's a lot to squeeze in 45 minutes, but it is definitely an exciting topic to be speaking about in an increasingly AI-dominated world, which cuts into teaching and learning. Okay, so let's jump to the next slide. So a bit about ourselves. We're a Hong Kong-based edtech company with a vision to be a global leader in diagnosing and remediating problem-solving skills to improve desired outcomes. And we're aiming to revolutionize education by leveraging the latest technology to maximize individual improvement and achievement in preparation for future success. One important strand of this is obviously to measure and develop thinking skills. And SolverEDGE has spun out of North Shore Coaching College, which is an Australian-based company. So you've got the agenda on the right-hand side there. So I'm not going to step you through that. It will become apparent as I'm speaking. So, and of course, in Asia Pacific, we're focused on partnering with international schools like yourselves to address a growing gap in education in an increasingly AI-dominated world. We're aiming to make personalized skill-based learning accessible and scalable across economic landscapes and regions. And our goal is to help schools integrate tools that are not only assess, but actively improve students' cognitive abilities and ensuring that they graduate ready for future challenges. So let's go in to the next slide. So why does all of this matter? You might ask. So I suppose let me spend a little bit of time by setting the scene on the context on the impact of AI in the world. Now, it's been a little while since I was in primary school, and it is quite exciting to see the evolution of how we teach and how students learn, especially due to the evolution of technology, and in particular, the role of AI over this time, and how it actually assists us in the classroom, especially in the field of assessment. You will no doubt agree that AI is definitely here to stay, and it's definitely reshaping the world from daily tasks to entire industries. So according to OECD reports, AI isn't just about automating routine jobs. It's about transforming the nature of work itself. And projections do show that 30% of current jobs, they could possibly more, could be automated by 2030. So with about 60% of jobs seeing significant task modifications due to AI. So this includes roles across many industries, ranging from manufacturing to finance, and even some in education, as you no doubt have seen to date. And so we are definitely in a changing world. And research from the World Economic Forum as well underscores that AI automates routine tasks, leaving humans to excel in areas like problem solving and creative innovation, which are increasingly in demand. The Harvard Business Review also reinforces this, noting that critical thinking and problem solving are among the top skills needed in an AI-augmented workforce. So as you can see, society is changing rapidly, and education as well must evolve along with it. So traditional education systems, which tend to emphasize memorization and standardized testing, are definitely falling short. And recently in PISA, PISA being OECD's International Student Assessment, which tests 15-year-olds on reading, maths, and science, they have actually tested AI systems like ChatGPT on the PISA tests and compared their performance to that of 15-year-olds. And it has revealed that AI often matches or exceeds average student scores in these areas. So as AI advances, it's starting to outpace humans in critical tasks that were once our domain, you could say. But rest assured, this isn't something we need to be alarmed about. It just means that we need to also adapt with the changes and adapt with the times. And so, as educators, we also need to focus on what makes us irreplaceably human. And if we don't, well, our students risk entering a workforce where AI handles the basics and leaving them without the edge to innovate or lead. I was actually also recently invited to write a section of a book on AI in education. And in there, I mean, I stress the importance of not letting AI give us all the answers, but we also need to emphasize to our students the importance of understanding how the answers arise so that we then can indeed critique the truth of what's being answered. And also, we also need to stress the importance of encouraging our students to think and continue to be curious about the world around us. So the key question that we may ask, what skills will keep students relevant? Which then leads me to the science of thinking skills. So at SolverEDGE, we focus on core cognitive abilities that remain uniquely human, problem solving and thinking skills, and which is becoming increasingly important to develop in an AI-dominated world. So these skills include analyzing complex situations, breaking down problems systematically, choosing the right strategies, logical, critical thinking, and creative thinking. So why are these skills so vital? So while AI excels at pattern recognition and processing large amounts of data, AI still continues to struggle with the nuances and demands of these thinking skills. So for instance, AI can solve a maths problem faster than most humans, but it struggles when faced with ambiguous scenarios that require creative ideation or the ability to critically evaluate multiple perspectives. And now that AI is seeing widespread usage, people with sharpened creative thinking skills will be equipped to solve problems that AI can't. And they will also be better positioned to leverage AI to improve their own capabilities, improve AI's outputs, and weed out bad responses. So while AI is incredibly powerful, they are often inaccurate. And in reality, critical thinking then becomes even more necessary, both to use it properly and to do the necessary work behind the scenes to make it a more reliable tool. AI models look for existing patterns of information, but no matter how nuanced or fast their outputs are, they can't exercise judgment currently. And it is still prone to limitations such as the potential for making up information, generating biased outputs, and demonstrating gaps in reasoning abilities. And even as AI gets more advanced, it absolutely requires the intervention of real people who can check for data inaccuracies, biases, logical inconsistencies, and even suggestions that go against ethical standards. So the use cases for thinking skills definitely go well beyond the classroom and into workplaces. And we are quite excited about our product, not only benefiting students, but many other people, not only in Asia Pacific, but beyond. So we all know these skills are important. And so how can we address the gap? Now, the reality is that assessments that measure these higher order thinking skills are currently limited. So this then leaves a gap in how we evaluate and develop them in our own students. Now, there are definite signs that education is trending in this direction. The OECD has ongoing projects on AI along with new frameworks with emphasis on competencies that complement but not compete with AI. And in 2029's PISA, the PISA will be including assessments on media evaluation, critical thinking, and AI literacy. And so that's why we've built our own platform to explicitly assess, diagnose, and train these critical metrics. Our founders actually have based the framework of our training and assessment program on research which was conducted alongside with the which was formerly called the Assessment Research Centre, but it's now called the Assessment and Evaluation Research Centre of the University of Melbourne. So based off this research, we have defined 6 key behaviours that form a strong problem solver. So what are these 6 pillars? So you've got a little bit of a spider diagram there that you can see. So the first pillar is literal and inferential reading. So what we mean by that is comprehending and interpreting text at multiple levels. So before we solve anything, it's important to grasp what's being asked. Our courses train students to dissect questions, spot hidden clues, and avoid misreading. And thinking skills, which is a very important part of our training, it goes beyond understanding core concepts across subjects. So in order to solve problems, you also need to understand the concepts relating to the problem. And so we explicitly train students on the topic of thinking skills. So by thinking skills, we mean higher order thinking processes that include critical thinking, creative thinking, problem solving, logical reasoning, decision making, and metacognition. And in fact, thinking skills help learners to use cognitive processes strategically to understand, analyze, evaluate, and use information to reason, make smarter decisions, and generate new ideas. The third pillar of our training involves strategy and method, and that is knowing and selecting the best approach. So strong problem solvers select strategies intentionally, and we teach strategies like reverse engineering and mind maps, so students don't just guess. So they are more methodical when they approach problem solving. Speed and accuracy, I suppose that's pretty self-explanatory. You've got to do something quickly and accurately. Perseverance, And this is an interesting one, and it's the importance of staying motivated and persistent when face a challenge, right? So it's a matter of overcoming challenges and not giving up. So our platform has a unique way to measure perseverance and following sort of difficulty spikes in problems, and unlocking hints gradually to encourage resilience in students as well as they approach problem solving. So the sixth pillar of our training program revolves around general knowledge and reasoning, and that is a broad what we believe is applying broad understanding to unfamiliar problems. So you could say spotting absurd situations and understanding the world around us, to using that to real world scenarios sort of into our questions as well. So in terms of our platform, just briefly, how it works is just sort of a high level breakdown on how our platform works. Firstly, we do a pre-training assessment. So every student starts off with an assessment. It's a diagnostic assessment that evaluates their strengths and weaknesses across the 6 problem-solving behaviors that I described before. And this is not a not a pass-fail test, and it's just a detailed map of their. You could say it's a map of their cognitive starting point. The second component of our program is the in-person training. So we've developed content training, training content and booklets, and educators will first work directly with the students, teaching them how to break down strategies, model thought processes, and build confidence. Then afterwards, students practice what they learn and train on our platform. So that's practiced online. So as they are doing their exercises, we're obviously tracking the way they approach our problems, and we monitor all of that real time. We're constantly collecting data on how they are approaching questions and problems. So we track not just whether the student gets the question right and wrong, but also importantly how they get there. So we track the various a couple of important areas like strategy, speed, adjustments, and reasoning patterns, right? So so there's a training program throughout a period, typically a term, and then at the end of the term, at the end of each term, or you could say each semester, students then take a progress assessment that measures their growth against their baseline. So a pre-test and a post-test, which concepts you'll be familiar with. And then both teachers and parents will receive clear, actionable reports showing, firstly, the individual's improvement in each of the 6 pillars, any classroom trends we can identify. So this involves comparing results of the class cohort against, or of each student against the student cohort, and also across regions. And also the report helps to identify areas requiring focus. Yeah, weaknesses that can be addressed and that can be improved upon. So tracking half an hour. Okay, so just a bit about computerized adaptive testing. For those that are not familiar with it, our assessments are primarily adaptive. So by computerized adaptive testing, what we mean is as opposed to everyone does the same questions. The questions are adaptive. So this method of assessment adjusts in real time based on how the student answers the questions in our system. So as I mentioned, not everyone does the same questions. And so this sort of testing uses algorithms to select the next question based on the previous response. If a student answers a question correctly, the next question gets harder, and vice versa. So if they get something wrong, then they get thrown a slightly easier question. So then what this means is that every student gets a tailored experience based on their current profile. And so then we're able to pinpoint their strengths and weaknesses without overwhelming or boring the student. So there are many benefits of computerized adaptive testing. Firstly, it's efficient. Students spend less time on irrelevant questions, often completing assessments in half the time compared to paper-based tests. Secondly, another benefit is that, it is more precise. It's a more precise measure of ability because it hones in on the student's true proficiency level. And thirdly, computerized adaptive assessments boost engagement. Students will feel like they're getting challenged at the right level. So, so they're more motivated to perform better. So we've adapted adaptive testing in our assessments and training modules, and then our machine learning models in the background continue to analyze responses to generate the detailed report on ability, gaps, and personalizes the recommendations as well. And then from that, we're then able to deliver targeted training modules with interactive exercises that adapt in difficulty as the students progress. So to give you an example, it might be a logical reasoning that a student is struggling with. So our student then might start with some basic evaluation type questions and then gradually build up to more complex scenarios, which then involve real world problems. And obviously the input that we collect from more students doing assessments, we continue to refine our models as we go from there. So just to share some success stories, this is the quite an exciting bit for us. You know, what we imagining is actually coming to fruition, and but most importantly, the fact that we're actually making a difference. So. So we actually tested 125 students across 2 schools in Hong Kong, St. Louis and St. Anthony, and then we compared them with 30 students in Australia using a controlled study design. And so what we ended up finding was that there were measurable gains within just 12 weeks. So so these students all took part in a sort of a pre-assessment, as we mentioned, and then 80% of the students went through training and 20% didn't do any training. So we did have a control group, and then so we tested everyone again after that, and the results, I can say, were quite remarkable, in fact. So 80% of the trained students outperformed those that did not do the training. So and this wasn't just a marginal outperformance. It was quite significant, especially in perseverance and overall problem-solving ability. And also students who showed higher perseverance during the training saw ability improvements of up to 50% more than those with lower perseverance. Additionally, when we compared the students in Hong Kong and Australia, we discovered something very quite interesting, actually. Whilst the Australian students scored better, and likely because they might have been more familiar with this style of learning, after the training, the Hong Kong students showed faster rates of improvement. So, yeah, so what this actually shows is that these skills can in fact be learned, developed, and mastered with the right training. It's not really about where you start, it's about having the right tools to grow. And that's exactly what SolverEDGE provides. Okay, so this actually brings me to the end of my presentation. So obviously we would love to work with you and work with partner with your schools to take the next step. So I would welcome you to book a live demo to see our platform in action, and then we also and then we can sort of talk about next steps. So let me just see whether or not there are any questions.
Anson, I'll just jump in. Thank you, firstly, so much for such an interesting session. There was one comment from Roland
Yep.
from a school in Myanmar.
Yes.
Roland said, I think the most significant skills students need to know when working with AI is not only to be critical, but to be able to test AI's responses' validity and how to spot and correct AI hallucinations.
Very, very good. Yeah. So this question is a little bit like saying, "Oh, yeah, you know, AI can build the house, right? But do you have the skills to critique whether the house is built well, right?" It's kind of a bit like saying that, right? So I think it's important to continue developing, the critical thinking skills of humans, so that we continue to stay ahead of AI. Yeah.
Great, and thanks. So in terms of, if schools are interested in exploring a demo, what would a demo or a pilot look like, and how many students could they kind of trial this on before perhaps, making a further commitment?
Yeah, so if any schools are interested, what I would suggest is that they drop us an email. So my contact details and Jeffrey's contact details are at the end of on the end of the slide. So and so we can have a further discussion to.
Apologies, ladies and gents. Just lost Anson. I'll just try and make him a presenter again. What I will say is that we will follow up with a recording and the slides from today's session by email. Are there any other questions from any of the attendees today?
Okay, we have Anson back.
Apologies, Anson. Anson, are you still there?
Maybe I can quickly answer that questions. In case anyone interested in go to the next step, contact us. What we can offer demo, and also we can offer a session, for example, for you to trial our platform. And in fact, we are quite comfortable to arrange any free assessment to some of the students, so you can see the first step and how does it work and how the analysis result, and before you decide whether to try it out or further work. But anyway, I leave it to Anson and Jeffrey to follow up with each of the school who have interest on the next step. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Leon. Anson, any final comments before we wrap up today? I can't hear you, Anson. You might need to unmute yourself.
There we go. Yeah. So yeah, no further comments. Thanks everyone for joining, and definitely an exciting space to be keeping an eye on. AI in education and development of thinking skills. So yeah, so please reach out if if we can help further.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anson. Thank you, Leon, for joining, and thank you for everyone joining from Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, Singapore, and throughout Asia Pacific. We will follow up with today's slides and a recording. And so if you're interested in exploring a demo or a pilot, then please get in touch. Thank you very much, and have a lovely evening, everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks very much.